Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Chase Harmer. Hi, Chase.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. Well,
Thank you
first
for
of all, say it again.
I said, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I'm excited to actually talk to you because, first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Jeremy Wise, Dr. Jeremy Wise from Rise 25 for introducing us. And I know you were a guest on his podcast and he highly recommended I talk to you. So, a little bit of your bio, and I'm sure you can add more. So you basically created a multi-million-dollar business before you were 32.
That's right.
And then you sold it, you exited successfully. And now you're on a new venture, right? Wishes, which we're going to talk about, and you're going to tell us all about it. And I'm very curious to hear about it. But give us a little bit more of the background, anything that I left out.
Sure. I mean, I've been in payments pretty much my whole adult life. I did grow a business about $40 million a year by the time I was 32. And then from there, I started building technology and we kind of did everything wrong, which is funny because we had no processes, and here we are talking on a process podcast. Literally had no processes. It's just a complete nightmare. But we did figure it out. It became a business that was worth into the hundreds of millions of dollars, and then started building wishes afterwards because I started donating to charities and just never knew what happened to the money afterwards, and then I was going to the grocery store and every grocery store was asking me for a dollar, yet I had no idea where that dollar was going and I wanted to understand. And so, I had been building the supply chain in the business world. What I mean by that is the whole economy of a transaction, like the customer buys something and then that business has to pay a supplier. I was doing that in the business world by issuing virtual credit cards. And I thought, well, I can apply the same concepts in charitable giving, and it doesn't change customer behavior because we all use digital credit cards on our phone. And I thought, why isn't someone doing this yet? And I can do this. And so that's what we did with Wishes.
That's amazing. I definitely would like to hear a little bit more of an explanation. But let's talk first of all in terms of what do you attribute your success to of actually building a multi-million-dollar company before the age of 32 and exiting successfully? I'm sure a lot of our entrepreneurs that are listening to us right now are wondering about that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of tattoos, but one is burn the ships, win or die trying. And that's literally what I live by. I think I'm a never giver upper, I'll just continue to do it until I actually do it. And I'm obsessed with making things real. So, the idea of making a business real from nothing, that's what I live for. Not the money, not anything else, but making something real. And I think until it's real, like my job's not done, I'll just never stop.
That makes sense.
That's what I
Totally.
attribute it to, really, because there's just like things that go wrong. And especially with no processes, everything goes wrong. Processes are like what I learned from building a huge company is process is everything. If you don't have process, like you're just never going to make it. So
That's right. So, okay,
yeah.
so I hear tenacity, make it real, don't give up, continue, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, have processes, which thank you for
Process
saying that.
is honestly everything. You have to have a great idea that's unique and adds a value so people care and want to do it and want to try it. But if you don't have processes, you can't scale. There's zero chance you can scale the business. And if you try to scale the business without processes, you'll just burn capital like nobody's business. So believe me, because ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Oh, because it happened to me. I mean, we were burning kind of crazy capital, like trying to figure it out. And until we actually, was like, man, we got to build processes. But actually building processes when you're already huge is way harder than doing it in the beginning. Like, and people don't want to do it in the beginning. Why? Because you have no money and you're like, man, like I can't do it. Like I need to do this. But the reality is that if you don't build those processes in the beginning, it's a nightmare later. Nightmare. Yeah.
Oh, it totally is. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, now looking back, I mean, always, hindsight is always 2020.
Yeah.
So looking back, what do you think, what stage of the business do you think having those processes, you should have actually created those processes?
I mean, you got to do it honestly in the beginning, before you have a lot of employees. So when you start hiring people, when you have that first set of employees, you have that one in each department, that's really when you need to build out these processes. I mean, it's impossible to do it as a one-man person, and because you really are juggling a lot of balls. And you need people to actually execute the plan, and you need them to carry out. They want to feel like they're a part of it. So if you're doing it and you're like, do this, it doesn't work as well as if you get people in each department and you're like, hey, let's build these processes together. That works way better. And they feel like they can own it at that point and kind of run with it. Otherwise, it doesn't work as well. So I think once you have the baseline foundation people in each department, that's like really when you build out those processes before you have a huge team. Because they got to be duplicatable and replicatable, and you need that person to own that process.
Exactly. And they also change, right? So you have to
Yeah, I
put
mean
them
they change over
current.
time, exactly. And
Yeah.
you're not going to be there going, "Hey, what's going on?" You want to just be there having the weekly meeting with the heads of each department and saying, "Okay, what's happening?" Or "Hey, this is where we need to change this. Obviously, there's a problem." But you're not going to be in the weeds all the time. And if you are in the weeds, probably you need to get out of the weeds a little bit.
Totally. So how did you manage to do that in your own company? How did you manage to get out of the weeds?
No, I didn't. That was part of the problem is that like I'm a weed whacker, I like to be in the weeds. And so I think I learned everything the hard way, but because you feel like you can do it the best. And you probably can. Reality is you probably can, but that person that's owning that job, they're going to resent you for that. And quietly. And that built up resentment over time doesn't end up to, it just doesn't do you any favors. And they're not going to work as hard, they're not going to own it as much, and they might be walking on eggshells. And so, even though we don't know as founders, we really don't know, I think a lot of times that how much power we have and how much people like really like to hold on to each word, because we're just like saying what's on our mind. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of times it's not taken the way that you think it is. And so you really got to do yourself favors and stay out of the weeds and let them own that process, even though it's really hard not to stay out. My first rodeo was very difficult to do that. Yeah,
Absolutely. But then you learn. I mean, that's part of it, is you get out of it and you
part of the
learn and then you
process.
continue. Absolutely. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the biggest return on investment by having well-documented processes and procedures, like now looking back?
Oh, I mean, you can scale. Like, I mean, it's impossible to scale if you don't have it. It just really is. I mean, I say, on a lot of almost every podcast that I'm on is process is everything, and it is everything. It really comes down to that. If you don't have processes, so try to actually board 500 merchants without process. You can't
No,
do it.
no,
It's impossible,
absolutely.
and like you might be able to do the first like 50, 100, but then it's just like, the rest, forget it. It's not happening because they're just waiting in the wings. They get frustrated, they go somewhere else, whatever the case may be. You need a way to board them all seamlessly, and without process, it just doesn't work, you know. So
I completely agree. Absolutely. And it's a continual thing. Wouldn't you say it's like you have to improve those processes on a continual basis?
yeah.
You have to keep them current. You have to make sure they don't become obsolete.
Yeah, and I think part of it is if you're seeing where in the process people are falling off, like that's measuring that, right? Where in that chain in that automation are they, are people like likely to fall off or they are falling off, so you can actually measure that and then fix that, and improve that. And I think that's really, when you scale and you see where people are, just dropping off the page or dropping off the sign up form or whatever that part is, like, that's all process too, so
Absolutely. I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Well, it is. True.
Yeah, totally, totally. So now let's talk about wishes.
Yeah.
So what prompted you to actually create wishes?
I mean, honestly, it was the grocery stores. Every single time you go to the grocery store, they're asking you to help the kids. And I was like, well, what kids, And then you go home and then you watch TV and the grocery store is like, we gave $30 million to blah, blah. It's like, no, you didn't. Like 20 million people gave to blah, blah. So, and they're getting the tax write-off for it. So actually it was irritating to me. And then every time you turn on the news, there's another disaster or catastrophe. And it's like, well, how do you actually help that family? Because the Red Cross out there, they're a good organization, but they give like Ziploc bags at the ground floor, right? But if you're a parent, single dad with like three girls, or a mom that has two boys, like they all need different things. Like, how do you help that family and help them right now? And there's no way to actually do that today. Most crowdfunding platforms, it takes 10 days or more to get funds to people. And by the time they get the funds, how do they actually spend them, right? If you're sending it to a bank account, there's just all kinds of things that are wrong with the process today. And so I wanted to make it instant. I wanted to make it tax deductible, rewarding, and transparent so that, the real reason we give is because we want that connection. As humans, like we want to connect, right? We're emotionally tied to the story. Like you see the thing in Maui and you're like, man, I want to help. It's messed up, right? How do I help them, right? You're emotionally connected to that story. You want to know that your money's going there, but you actually don't ever see what happens to the money on the other side, right? So I think that's really the connection that's missing in charitable giving. I mean, and so I wanted to bring the human connection back into charitable giving. So donors could always understand what happened to the money. And I think, if you take the simple example of the bum on the side of the road asking for money, right? Most people won't give that guy money, right? Why? Because you think he's going to do something nefarious with it. He's going to go drink or do drugs or whatever. But if you knew 100% that he was going to eat food with it, I think more people would donate to this guy. They'd give him money if they knew, right? So our thesis is if you understand what happens to the money, people will give more and more often. And I think that will prove that to be true.
I think so
So,
too. I mean, we talk about processes and predictability. I mean, it just predicts what is going to happen with the money.
right.
It predicts where it goes. And then you feel like you are doing something positive, like you are actually impacting a positive change. Because yeah, you're right. We're jaded. Like, oh yeah, you gave
Yeah,
what are you going to
Jaden,
do with the
exactly.
money, right?
Every grocery store is asking for $1. It's like, dude, stop.
Exactly. So okay, so how does wishes work?
Yeah, so what we do is so we have a 501(c)(3), and on the backside of our platform, we're connected to a charity that empowers homeless people actually. But that doesn't have to go there. It goes into whatever charity or cause or crisis you want to donate to. So you donate through, because we're a crowdfunding platform. So you donate through the nonprofit. We turn that into a virtual MasterCard, and that gets instantly sent to whatever cause, crisis, or charity that you want it to go to. And then once they actually get those dollars and they say, hey, we're raising money for groceries or a hotel room because it's a Maui thing or airline tickets, whatever it is that they're asking for, health related crisis. Hey, Tommy broke his arm. We need help. Whatever that is, those dollars get sent over there. They can only use them on whatever it is they ask for. So if they said, hey, we need help with groceries, those cards can only be used for groceries because we have essentially, like, think about it like a shopping mall that's connected on the backside of our platform on our app. And it has all the big box retailers that are in existence today: Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, Sam's Club, Costco. I mean, all the ones, right? You can go in there and you can buy whatever you need instantly. And then, most of the time you can get stuff same day from any of those stores now. Um, so essentially, it's free to the users, and the retailers pay us to send them the business, and that's how we actually earn dollars. So, we can do it instantly. We can do it transparently, and we can do it in a way that allows donors to always understand where those dollars go.
That's amazing. So what I hear here is accountability, really.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that every dollar is accounted for, and you know where it's
100%.
going, and then you're feeling like you're really contributing to something that you want to contribute to, which makes us want to help more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then you can see those dollars in work. Right. Exactly.
Absolutely. So what's your vision with this new company?
Our vision is to help 1 billion people. That's our goal. So we want to be a big platform. We think this will change charitable giving, the way people give. And, the charitable giving industry, industry has been like the only one that's been in existence that's still a black box, and we want to open that black box, and we think that this will change the way that people give. And, we're built on the international rails, so we have the ability to expand internationally, and we think it's going to be a big deal. So
that's amazing. Absolutely incredible. I mean, that is definitely a great vision. I mean, billion people, that's like 1/8, 1/9 of this planet. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's possible.
Creating an impact. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love it. It's the dream big, right? I mean, you dream big, you envision, and then you make it happen, as you said, with processes, correct processes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it all starts with a vision, right? And, our hope is to one day change charitable giving. So, if what we built inspires other people to build similar things that, help us reach that goal, then that's a good thing.
Absolutely. So how can our listeners help? How can they participate?
Yeah, so, go to Wishes, register as a donor, nonprofit, or as, someone that needs help as a wisher. And we're launching here on the 19th, so we're like a week away. And, and if you want to reach out to me personally, you can get me on LinkedIn at Chase Farmer on LinkedIn, and Wishes on LinkedIn too. So come like us on Instagram, Facebook, and, give us a good shout out and join our waitlist.
Sounds amazing. So I definitely encourage our listeners to do that. That's totally for a great cause. And, that's a common denominator. I interview a lot of entrepreneurs on this podcast, thought leaders, and we want to give, we want to help. That's what we're doing. What we're doing is to create a change, and you're making it possible, because then we can be in control of how we change and what we do. So definitely it's a great thing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for being a guest.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.